I remember the first time we hired like a office administrator. It was such a big decision. Again, we came from the background of guys that swing a hammer, guys that actually provide some, value on the job site. To hiring somebody that's managing schedules didn't was tough to stomach a $60,000 hire at the time. So, but then once we did it, it was just a breath of fresh air. He took care of so many things in the office that it was such a relief. We wish we'd have done it 2 years ago. And I've seen that a lot over the history of our company as it's grown. And that would definitely be a word of encouragement to my younger version of just making those hires. And when you know you need it, bring the guy in, and
Yep.
he's going to bring some value. How that translates today, I really need to find a replacement. I really need to find somebody that can handle, taking care of a lot of the headaches in the business. And when you're sole owner or even in a partnership, you take care of so many of those day-to-day things. You take care of so many like headaches in the business. To really find somebody that you can just hire to manage the business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Builder's Bible. I'm joined by Paul Fox, who's a friend of mine from Rise Up Kings. Paul is a builder. He is one of the owners of Fox Built along with his brother, and I'm excited to pick his brain about all things construction. Paul, tell us a little bit about how we got to where we are today. Tell us about the company and how it got started.
Sure. So my older brother, John, who I am partners with, started working for a local home builder in the high school back when he was 15. Shortly after graduation, decided it would be a good idea to step out on his own. I'd actually come from the restaurant industry, so I worked for a small family-owned restaurant back then, and he kind of invited me along and saw some potential there to partner up. So we started small. We started actually doing small renovations and things like that. I think we did the biggest project in the first couple of years was a $15,000 kitchen renovation. And of course, we were a couple kids that grew up a little on the poor side. So I could not imagine that somebody had $15,000 in their bank account that would just be willing to pay us to put some new cabinets in. So there was a bit of a learning curve there when you're realizing, the product that you're offering to somebody and what they're willing to pay it. So we did a couple renovations here and there for the first couple of years, just he and I for the most part. And we were still college age, so we could pull college age, friends that were maybe home for summer, home for vacation, stuff like that. And they'd help us out from time to time. So we had enough friends that were in their early 20s that we always had labor if we needed it. Fast forward to 2003, the housing market was still pretty hot. So there was very little options to build houses back then, at least in this area. It was tough to find land, tough to get developments, things like that. But we found some leftover lots that were available in a local development. The developer was willing to get rid of them, so he was willing to pay, to sell them to us. And they were not the most desirable. They were odd shapes, odd sizes, but beggars can't be choosy. So we were willing to take a chance and see if we could fit a house on them. My brother, to his credit, has a good bit of gumption and doesn't like take no for an answer. So he went to the bank, saw how much we could get. I think at the time it was $130,000 loan, and we were trying to build a house for $250,000. And I have no idea if we made any money. I don't know if that was a good amount of money. I don't know what our costs in the house were. We were just a couple of guys that knew how to swing a hammer and read a tape measure and thought we should build a house together. So that's what we did. Fast forward another year, we decided to do it again. We built another spec house. Again, don't know if we made any money. Didn't necessarily know what all our costs were in the job. A lot of the costs in the house were supplemented by renovation projects and things like that that help with cash flow. And out of that house, we actually sold our first custom home. So again, got into another development. They had some leftover lots, and the people had purchased one of them and paid us to come build a custom house. So that was right around 04, 05, and kept going from there. The next development we were able to get into was another local builder that my brother used to work for. He had developed a farm. So he had developed like a 100-acre farm into 100 lots. And it was a little on the higher end side. So back in that time frame, it was $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 homes, which was high end around here. And since we were able to get in there, we decided to build one and did well. The house sold, and it kind of pushed us into that market, into that higher end market. So it is a smaller market in this area. Again, less people can afford the more expensive houses, but at the same time, it's easier to kind of have more
And
market
Paul, real
share.
quick, just for the audience, what area is that? You're in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're in central Pennsylvania, so we're right around the Harrisburg area. So Harrisburg, Hershey, Lancaster. Um, that's the main area that we're in. And again, at that time frame, $600,000 was a pretty nice house, pretty expensive in this area. And I don't think we had any wise business strategy to kind of get into that market. But once we realized that we liked attention to detail, we liked craftsmanship, we liked keeping some work in house, and that we could actually do well for people that appreciate that kind of product, we started building those homes. Once we built a spec home, that opened us up to sell custom homes out of it. So it really helped us find a place in that market. And beyond that, we had a lot of in-house labor at the time. Like I said, we had a lot of young college kids because we were college age. Even though we didn't go to college, we were still in our early 20s. So we had friends from church and things like that that were looking for work between graduating college and now wanting to get into a career, but maybe having that kind of in-between phase. So we hired those guys, and we'd go frame houses. We'd put floor in. We'd trim them. We'd paint them. We do a lot of it in-house. If we leap forward about a full decade, we're still operating that way and realizing if we want to grow beyond only doing one or two houses at a time, we really need to start subbing things out and using trade professionals. So that's what we decided to do. Around 2015, 2016, we started doing that. It was pretty organic, and probably most people that are in the trades can attest to, like, when you start getting good relationships with guys that are in the trades, they know other decent trade professionals, and your word starts getting out there that you're a good contractor to work with. And in that same time frame, again, most guys can probably relate to this. We were guys that I said could swing a hammer, we could read a tape measure, we could cut a nice piece of trim, we could make it look nice. We weren't necessarily the most business savvy. We didn't come from a business background. We didn't get some degree. We didn't necessarily know our numbers. We had a good idea, but we didn't have a business that was handed down from our parents' generation. They didn't tell us, all the ins and outs of that. So we were still kind of stumbling along, learning some of those things along the way. Mm-hmm. In 2019, we started realizing that even though my brother had been more of the founder of the company, that business mind maybe wasn't the same as mine, at least having the same structure for business. It was something that really interested me. He's a lot more leans toward the visionary, so big ideas, very forward thinking, future thinking, that type of thing. But then when you go to implement those ideas into the day-to-day operations, there's a gap. So we were realizing that perhaps from a standpoint of who's owning the business, who's operating the business, we're 50-50 partners, so we're both owners, but from a just managing the day-to-day, it might make more sense to shift roles. So that's what we did. We swapped roles in 2019. I don't know how many folks in the construction industry are into EOS. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, very.
Okay. So, and I think Rise Up Kings operates with a lot of the EOS principles as well. We got introduced to EOS in 2019. We were in a peer group that had EOS implementer that was running the peer group, and we had several partners in that peer group that also operated via EOS, and they were a year or two ahead of us in their EOS journey. So they were kind of able to tell me some best principles. You have to start doing your level 10 meetings. No matter what you're doing, start your level 10 meetings. They won't be good. They'll be clunky at first, but they'll get better. Just start doing those. And they were given that type of insight as we were kind of building out the EOS toolbox. That was self-implemented, so we didn't use the EOS implementer. So that took us about maybe 2 years to fully implement EOS. And that really helped us with setting up just a structure for our business to run. Who's doing what? Again, early on in the business, we had only a few people. So there was a lot of overlap with, responsibilities, things like that. It got to be a little clunky, though, the more we added people into the company. And there was a lot of overlap, or things were getting missed because we didn't know who was really responsible for what. Well, we set up the accountability chart with EOS and started really defining who was responsible for what roles. Our financials had got a lot better. So we had started doing better project reports after the fact to say, okay, here was the key, here was the goal margin on the house, and it's such basic things, but here was the goal margin on the house, and let's see how we actually did. It was kind of soul crushing because in the 2018, 2019 timeframe, we started realizing we were making single digit margins, like gross margins were 5, 6, 7%. Some of them were negative. And it hurts when you start realizing those things. But at the same time, what's get measured gets improved. So once we started measuring those things and realizing how far we were in the hole, it was all of a sudden our houses are jumping in price and they're still selling, but we're realizing, how quickly some of those dollars add up. So you miss certain things on that bid sheet, and they're big dollar amounts. So you don't lose $5 at a time; you lose $5,000 at a time.
Yeah.
So in conjunction to starting EOS, in conjunction to dialing in our numbers and making sure our margins are what we need them to be, which is a long road to correction. And then making some good hires. We had a couple good hires in that time frame, and shifted people around within the company. So we went from more of an in-house labor type of operation to a project management operation. So now our younger brother actually works for us too. He became our renovations project manager, and he started learning just how to manage projects, how to manage budgets, how to manage schedules, things like that. And that was a little bit of a learning curve too. So it really felt like 2019, 2020, we shifted the way we operated as a business.
Yeah.
So it just feels like we keep resetting every couple of years because we grow to another level and then we grow to another level. So up to this day, we are still looking for some good project managers. I've made some bad hires over the last couple of years. I have hired guys that felt really good, talked really good in interviews, and lo and behold, just not a good fit. So we've really started to tweak more recently the way we hire. We started improving our hiring process, and a lot of that education has come from reading good books, listening to good podcasts, and just getting some good influences and some good training. So that's about where we're at today. Right now, we're doing about 15 million in revenue, plus or minus. So we'll see how the year shakes out, but that's about a 10% increase over last year and a 20% increase
That's
over the year
awesome.
before.
Hey, cheers to you. That's amazing. Yeah. What what's a typical deal for you? I know you guys are building homes. What's a very typical, is it $1 million home, a $3 million home? What's normal for you?
Yeah, right now we're averaging right about 1.85 million for a new home. So that's house only, no land. Land would be in addition to that.
Yeah.
Renovation projects, we're averaging right around 200,000.
Yeah.
So we'll take on some smaller ones. We'll take on some $20,000 renovations, but we also have some, $500,000 renovations. So the average is just north of 200,000.
We talked about it earlier, but you mentioned, hiring has been a sticking point. What are some sticking points just in general that you guys are having in your business right now?
Yeah, hiring is one, like I said. So for us, that's been a combination of both finding the right people and actually having an onboarding process. I know one thing that, I wish I would have understood sooner was having good processes in place. We definitely struggled through onboarding because back in the day when we did our own trim carpentry, for instance, we would trim a house. We could bring in a new guy that didn't even know how to read a tape measure, and he's working with 3 other skilled trim carpenters. So there's so much influence in that day to day that you're spending so much time with him, and he's learning quickly, and you're able to watch over him and maybe let him go put baseboard in a closet. And there's such a simple onboarding process when you're working side by side every day with somebody. It is totally different when you bring somebody in as a project manager and you only have a couple touch points each week, but then they're going to job sites and things like that. If you're not intentionally spending time with them, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to really make sure people are onboarded well. So that has been a challenge for us, and that's something we've tried to correct more recently. Like I said, having a bit of a hiring practice. I don't know if you're familiar with Who by Jeff Smart, but it's a book on hiring, and they are a hiring outfit. And we just built our hiring practice around the platform that they recommend. Actually, I think Ruck uses them as well. When they talked
Mhm.
about it at our Rise of Kings event, it was very similar in to what the book had talked about. Beyond that, like I said, man, the numbers I think we're doing really, really well with now, knowing where our numbers are. It's tough in our industry because, again, if you take a couple of knuckleheads that just know how to read a tape measure but don't really know about their margins, um, it's a challenge because you don't necessarily care so much about the margins. You want to do a good job for customers, and it's like there's a weird balance of you're not just chasing the almighty dollar per se, but realizing that we really need to know where these numbers are at. Because if we don't know where our
Yeah.
numbers are at, our people suffer, our customers suffer, and we owe it to them to be a profitable business.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't have said it by myself. What about how do people find you typically? Is it all referrals? Are you marketing? Do you have a funnel?
Yeah, marketing wise, we have a couple. Top three would probably be one is good land. If we have good developments that we're in, it can be very appealing to people. So we're getting calls just off signs that are at good developments or on good plots of land. Two is referrals. We get a good amount of referrals or repeat
Hmm.
business. And three is actually just job signs. People driving by where we have a job sign set up and see that we do kitchens, and so that's pretty high up there. We do some SEO stuff. We do website stuff. We do some pay-per-click stuff, but nothing beats good land, good referrals, or even just simply having a job site in the yard.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. What about, let's talk about AI for a second. How are you guys using it, and where do you feel like you could be using it that you're not?
Ways that we are using it, we've been using like chat pretty regularly for writing processes. So again, back in the late 20 teen days, we had no processes in place. We kind of knew, I knew what I was doing. John knew what he was doing. Everybody kind of knew what they were doing, maybe quote unquote. But realizing that if we wanted to hire and be an effective team, we needed processes in place. So we wrote a lot of our own. Well, nowadays, with as easy as chat is, we'll just punch in what the need is, and it spits out a process. Maybe it's only 90% accurate, but it can save hours of writing processes. We'll definitely write it for any documents too. If we need to get a second set of eyes on a document, punch it into chat, have it, you look it over, pick up grammar, clean up the verbiage. It's really
Mm,
great, and it saves hours at a time.
mm.
Beyond that, I don't know that we're using a ton of AI. I'm sure there's a lot that's out there that we should be using or could be using, and I'm sure it's going to be a total aha moment when we start. But right now, that's about it. It's a heavy
Yeah.
dose of chat.
Where do you feel like you could be using it that you're not? So, like, what's an area of your business? I'm like, I think AI could help me there, but I'm not really sure.
Well, um, actually, you know what I said about processes and onboarding? We'll punch into. So chat is really nice that obviously it's intuitive, so it starts learning more and more about your business. Um, so we talked about having onboarding as an issue. Well, we punched in. We're hiring an assistant project manager, write an onboarding, a 90-day onboarding plan for him, and it breaks down this week by week plan with measurables and all that. So again, it's on us to implement those type of things, but that's something we just started doing a couple months ago. You said about where could we be using it that we're not. We don't use it with many of our proposals or spec sheets. We have templates that we go off of. We do use Buildertrend for our construction platform. So that's our scheduling, our budgets, document storage, that type of thing. So that has an AI component to it as well, meaning we can take a project manager and he can punch in a weekly update to a customer and and the AI version that's within Buildertrend will spit out a recap of what happened this week, a forecast for what's happening next week, and actually pull some pictures from the site too and post that in the email. We're not using that, but I know it would be a time saver if we did. I'm sure there's some type of financial component that AI could be helpful for. I just
Totally.
think that the probably the easiest thing that AI could help with is the things that you or I would take hours and hours and hours to read down through lines, make sure numbers add up, and it's doing the same thing, but it's spitting it out in a couple seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, just having talked to hundreds of builders now, The thing
Hmm.
that for me is like the low hanging fruit for AI is the estimation stuff, and I 6
Right.
months ago had no idea what a takeoff was, but now that I understand how much freaking time it takes for you to take the measurements, figure out, a lot of guys have a proprietary spreadsheet or something like that.
We do as
Um,
well.
yeah. And, so the where the AI comes in and where I'm seeing a lot of builders are slow to adapt to this, but I'll give you an example of a commercial contractor in Minnesota. He was sharing about how he has 7 project managers, and typically they're spending 10 hours a week on actually creating estimates. So they have an RFQ, RFP, whatever you want to call it, comes in,
Okay.
and they're like, doing the estimate, building out the proposal, to some extent potentially generating the contract. And he walked me through the process like that literally could be an AI employee doing each
Right.
of those different things. And the only thing is at the end, like instead of the proposal going right to the client from the AI employee, it actually goes right to the project managers. But, we just did quick math. It was going to save his company 200 grand for him to actually implement that system. So yeah,
What's in it? What's the platform?
well, we would have to build it for him, so that's
Oh,
what my,
okay. Okay.
that's what my agency does. And so,
Okay.
um, so yeah, but, an agent is anything that is like, it's basically like, aggregating different tools. So you wouldn't have to change from Buildertrend. You wouldn't have to change from whatever your tech stack is. It actually
Okay.
literally like an employee would goes in there, clicks in there, does the thing, and then it spits out the
Right.
proposal. It's pretty nifty.
Right.
Paul, what's one thing we haven't talked about today that gets you fired up? It could be Rise Up King stuff, could be family stuff, a business principle, book you're reading, sports team you like.
Well, we are an hour and a half from Philly, so we're Eagles fans in this area. So
Well, I'm
it's
just
been a
happy
good.
that the Chiefs did get another championship, and then I'm a Giants fan by birth, so I'm happy with Saquon.
Oh,
Apparently,
good, good.
when people leave the Giants, they become amazing. Like Daniel Jones, all of a sudden looks like Peyton Manning again.
Well,
So
to be fair, Saquon was pretty great when he was at the Giants. He just didn't have a
he
great
was, yeah,
supporting
yeah,
cast.
he was, yeah. He
Yeah.
didn't have the O line he needed. So yeah,
No, what gets me fired up? I guess from a business standpoint, I do know that over the years, there's always been a struggle of like making the right hire at the right time. I remember the first time we hired like a office administrator. It was such a big decision. Again, we came from the background of guys that swing a hammer, guys that actually provide some, value on the job site. To hiring somebody that's managing schedules didn't was tough to stomach a $60,000 hire at the time. So, but then once we did it, it was just a breath of fresh air. He took care of so many things in the office that it was such a relief. We wish we'd have done it 2 years ago. And I've seen that a lot over the history of our company as it's grown. And that would definitely be a word of encouragement to my younger version of just making those hires. And when you know you need it, bring the guy in, and
yep,
he's going to bring some value. How that translates today, I really need to find a replacement. I really need to find somebody that can handle, taking care of a lot of the headaches in the business. And when you're sole owner or even in a partnership, you take care of so many of those day-to-day things. You take care of so many like headaches in the business to really find somebody that you can just hire to manage the business. And I know Rise Up Kings, I remember when we were down there, they were pushing for that. I've talked to
Skyler.
Skylar. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Skylar.
well, that's
No, that
okay.
was one thing he had said. He said, "Hey, you got to find a number two. If you don't have a number two, find a number two." And again, that's a big ticket person, but if I'm taking calls for customer complaints, it is such a distraction. It can be such a distraction on the day to day,
Yep.
and really take away focus on from CEO. But which kind of goes into my other point. It that would be a huge help in finding just a much better balance of family life versus business. I
Yeah.
think I do well disconnecting when I disconnect, but at the same token, it can be tough sometimes because if you don't have, a warranty manager, it's like you're taking warranty calls on the weekends, and it's just kind of
Yeah.
silly stuff that you
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing, and it
Be
takes
careful.
away from.
You're getting me excited, Paul, because what the other thing that we do is virtual assistant staffing, and it's fun
Oh,
because I like dealing with blue collar guys and overcoming the they have to be in my office thing, and I'm like, wait a sec, I don't know if they really do, for some of this stuff. So yeah,
right.
yeah,
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 virtual assistant that could be helpful. I will tell you, the
yeah,
bane of my existence is emails.
yeah, hundred
So
percent.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
try to stay caught up on emails, and anytime you answer one, it turns into two more. And I don't know if a virtual assistant would help something like that, but
Heather, I don't remember the last time I checked my email. Heather does it all for me. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, actually, for clarity, is Heather a person or is Heather an AI
Heather's
assistant?
a real person. She's in the Philippines. Yeah, she's amazing.
Great.
And she's all of a whopping $6 an hour, which is, for her, like she's basically being paid like a surgeon or a lawyer to, so it's a really, really good job for her. So it's
right.
Yeah, we like, I don't know how I would live without her. So,
No, that's a good word.
Paul, what if people want to learn more about who you are and what you do, where can they go?
Yeah, so foxbuilt.com is our website. Again, we got all sorts of galleries on there, and our team and everything. So we yeah, sorry. Thinking about warranty items has my brain going. Philippines, huh? No, foxbuilt.com. Yeah, we recently rebuilt the website a couple years ago. Again, if you don't have a good website, invest some money into a good website. But all sorts of photos, fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Somewhat active on social media. It's a little different platform, but we pay for some social media updates, stuff like that too.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, and appreciate you kind of getting into the weeds with us, guys. Go check out Paul and his brother and what they're doing with FoxBuilt. It's really cool. Beautiful homes, beautiful work they do. And Paul, don't go anywhere. I want to chop it up with you, but thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks, Andrew.